to the Copenhagen vlog. We spent a very quick 48 hours flying on a Friday night and coming back on a Sunday evening. We got into Copenhagen very late on the Friday, and this was our luggage. We had an under the seat bag and that was it. We arrived, it was quite miserable, it was wet, it was raining, but this was the bright lights of Copenhagen that we were first to see. We checked into Motel 1 in Copenhagen and they have a 24-hour concierge service, so we checked in no problem. They upgraded us for a bigger room free of charge because it was his self's birthday, and the room was lovely. Here's a little grand tour of the bedroom, that's himself, and the small little bathroom was all we needed. They had really nice toiletries and shower gel, shampoo, etc. Very modern, very nice colours, and the bed was very comfy, very Scandinavian vibes with the decor, but as I tested out, it was very comfy. We woke up on Saturday morning around 7 a.m. I think, it was quite early, and it was so foggy we couldn't see a thing. We came downstairs and this is a bit more of the lobby and the breakfast area, but we wanted to head out and get breakfast in Copenhagen city centre. So yeah, as you can see, quite dark, quite damp, quite foggy, but thankfully it didn't rain. Good morning.
Good morning. How are we?
Our first stop of the trip was St. Peders Bageri. It was down this little side street. It was very highly recommended, very famous. We came for the Danish pastries, of course. There was so much on display already. It was very early, but so much fresh bread. The place smelled amazing. We got a little seat outside. We had, I think it was a cardamom roll, and then we also had the cinnamon roll, which was a typical Danish pastry and highly recommended. And it was delicious. A little pre-breakfast treat, but so good. Good. Probably the most pictured area of Copenhagen is Nyhavn, this little street with the canal running through it. It is stunning in person. Obviously the sky wasn't working in our favour this morning, but it was so nice to come and see. For our first breakfast, we came to the Union Kitchen, which had been highly recommended. They do funny artwork in their coffees and lattes and do very good food. I wouldn't say this is my favourite breakfast of the trip. We only did have two, but if I was to choose and go back again, I would probably go to the second one, which is later on in the vlog. We happened to come across the changing of the guard at Amalienborg Palace, I think it's called. It was at 11 a.m. on the Saturday morning, and it drew a large crowd. There were a lot of people there, but it was nice to see. It wasn't overly exciting. We didn't stay for the whole thing, but it was just something good to see if you're in Copenhagen around that time. Probably the most famous statue in Copenhagen, and what everyone knows Copenhagen for, is the Little Mermaid Statue. A lot of crowds here, but I didn't expect it to be as small as it was. We then crossed the bridge as we were heading over to Christiania and came across this massive outdoor food market. There were so many different varieties of cuisines and food that it would suit absolutely anybody's taste, and yeah, the food looked insane. There were a lot of people eating and drinking even though it was a little bit wet outside, but would totally recommend if you're in the mood for food. This is a really good spot to check out in Copenhagen. Then we came to Christiania in Copenhagen, which is a commune of sorts. It's very hippie culture. They have a lot of herbs, shall we say, over there, but they do sell a lot of it, and it gets raided by police a lot. Quite often you're not allowed to take any photographs when you go through because it is like a no man's land kind of area. Very cool to see, but also a little bit dodgy, I would say, so do go in the daytime, but there are also a lot of tourists about the place too. Then we were in the mood for food, so we walked to Refn. It was about half an hour away, and we got to this industrial warehouse kind of place where there was no one around, so it didn't look very promising. And then we turned up and it was closed, I think for maybe renovations. There is some Halloween decorations, as you can see, but it was very, very much closed. So we ended up going across the way to this little spot. Well, I say little, it was huge. Another huge warehouse that's really made for events and things, but there was a crepe van outside, so we had Nutella crepes and we had a drink, and we just rested our feet because we were so tired before getting the boat back to the main area of Copenhagen. And this was himself asking for directions of how to get out of this place because there was no one around. Our first evening meal in Copenhagen, himself decided to treat me to a very fancy, very bougie outdoor eating experience at Gasoline Grill, a really famous burger spot in Copenhagen. There are a few, but this is the original. It's at a petrol station, so cars do come up, get petrol, but you just queue, you wait, they call it a number. It is a bit of a fast food takeaway situation, but the burgers are insane. Like, they are voted one of the best burgers in the world, and we can see why. I would have had this the whole trip if I could, but definitely check that out. And then we ended the evening in the Dubliner, an Irish pub, to watch the football. Make sure you bring your walking shoes for Copenhagen because we walked a lot. Sunday morning was a lot brighter, some bluer skies. We woke up early, checked out of our hotel, took our luggage with us, which was, as you can see, a backpack for him and a bag for me. We were staying near Tivoli Gardens, which is a famous amusement park and one of the oldest, I think, in Europe. It's got a lot of kids around. It was very decorated for Halloween. It looks a lot better at night time, which is later on in the vlog, and I'll show you. But we went for coffee before heading to our breakfast spot, which we walked to about 25 minutes away from our hotel. And of course there's another Irish pub, they're everywhere. And this was our breakfast location. So we came to Mad in the Kaffe, where they give you a menu that you fill out yourself. So you can have 3 options, you can have 5 options, I think maybe you can have 7 or a sharing platter, but we went for a platter each. I think we both chose 5 different options each because, you know, lining the stomachs for the day, all the energy for walking. Open, smoothie bowl, and then I don't know what else. And this was the absolute spread that arrived. So I ordered some oatmeal, I ordered a smoothie bowl, some avocado, a croissant, some toast. It was obviously far too much, but I mean, we're on holiday, we're enjoying ourselves, and it looked good for the photo, so it was insane. This area in particular was giving Soho, New York. It was so pretty. And I'm so glad that we came here during the autumn because the leaves were just absolutely given. The colours are insane in all of the parks and the dogs are just main character energy throughout. One of the highlights of this trip was the Pollutant Book Cafe. So I'm a big reader. I do have a reading channel if you want to watch that. I'll link it here. But this was so pretty. You go in, it's a perfect place for studying and just reading or catching up with friends. Gorgeous cafe. I will say there wasn't that many books able to purchase. Like you couldn't really browse because it was mainly for food and drink, mainly a cafe. So that was a little downside, but gorgeous setting just to do some work or to study. Then we came to this area of Copenhagen, which is quite near to Nyhavn, so not that far a walk, but the houses are gorgeous, all different colours, the outside, the greenery, beautiful. Kind of reminded me of Circus Lane in Edinburgh if you've been or have heard of it. Love that little skip from me there, but yeah, it's so pretty, definitely an Instagram spot. And this area is like old barracks that the veterans stay in and housing accommodation, but it's kept to look like the old style, which is really cool. And then we came to have an open sandwich, our first open sandwich of the trip, outside of Nyhavn, just along the water, which was the perfect people watching spot. And we had Aperol Spritz, the last of the season, himself had a cider. And we had the fish platter, which was gorgeous and just a really nice people watching, relaxing way to spend a Sunday afternoon. Would totally recommend. And we were sat by the artificial fire, which was doing a very good job to heat us up while sitting outside. And then our last stop of the trip before we headed to the airport was Warpigs. This is another place that's highly recommended. It is a very meat heavy place, so it's in an old slaughterhouse, so if you're a bit squeamish, maybe not the one for you, but barbecue food. We had ribs, we had meat, we had mac and cheese, we had coleslaw, we had pickles, we had everything. It was so good. I was a little bit full, so I wasn't eating that much, but highly recommended place for food, and it was really good.
Link sausage. Spread. Pulled pork. Mac and cheese. Pick up.
So I used to have a Dunkin' Donuts, I would say, every day when I lived in New York, so seeing this was just the perfect way to end things. We grabbed a hot chocolate and walked around Tivoli Gardens when it was all lit up because it looked so much nicer at night time, and it has a little light display going on, and it was just a perfect way to end our stay in Copenhagen before heading back to the airport. But when we got to the airport, our flight was delayed until 1 a.m. I think, so we were very bored, as you can see, and there was not much to do in Copenhagen airport as everything had shut by that time as well. But thanks so much for watching. We got in at 2 a.m. in the morning and we had work the next day, which was lovely.